the month of Nisan is coming up this Thursday. And every day on the month of Nisan, the leader of another tribe brought a certain sacrifice in order for the tabernacle to be built. It was the dedication of the tabernacle. So today we're going to learn about that. Let's look at number 3. ויהי ביום כלות משה להקים את המשכן, in the day that Moshe built the tabernacle, וימשח אותו, he anointed the tabernacle, ויקדש אותו, he made it, sanctified it, ואת כל כליו, ואת המזבח, the vessels, the altar, ואת כל כליו, וימשכם ויקדש אותם. He made everything in the sanctuary holy. ויאמר השם אל משה, then God appeared to Moshe, and he said, נשיא אחד ליום, נשיא אחד ליום, every day there's going to be another leader of another tribe, יקריבו את קורבנם לחנוכת המזבח, in order to dedicate the altar, and through it dedicate the tabernacle. Every day another leader of the tribe is going to bring his sacrifice. And we're going to concentrate on the 11th day, 11th of Nisan. By the way, the 11th of Nisan happens to be also the birthday of the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. ביום ה-12, so it says in the 11th day, יום נשיא לבני אשר, this is the day for the tribe of Asher, to the leader of the tribe of Asher, and his name was Pagiel ben Achran. His name was Pagiel ben Achran. קורבנו, his sacrifice, קורבנו כסף אחד, 30 משקל, he brought some silver, מזרק אחד כסף, 70 שקל בשקל לקודש, נאמלים סולת, ועולה בשם למלכה. It enumerates all the sacrifice that he brings, כף אחת 10 זהב מעלה קטורת, פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד, כבש אחד שלו לעולה, he brought 1 ram, 1 bull, שעיר עזים, 1 goat, for a sin offering, ולוי זרח השלמים בקר 2, מעילים 5, עתודים 5, כבשים יש 5, זה קורבן פגיע בן אחרן. he brought some more bull offering, some more ram offering, and so on and so forth, more sheep offering, and it enumerates all the offerings that the leader of the tribe brought. So source number 2, Amar Rabbi Tanchuma. Rabbi Tanchuma says, כל השבטים לשם גאולתם של ישראל ולשם שבחם נקראו שמותם. All the tribes are named for the redemption of the Jewish people. And now we're going to learn, why was Asher named Asher? Why was his name Asher? Where does the name Asher comes from? ואשר נקרא שמו לשם גאולתן של ישראל. He is named for the redemption of the Jewish people. כמו דתימה, just like it says, וישרו אתכם כל הגויים. All the nation will call you blessed. Asher comes from the word blessed, he says. All the nation will call you blessed. Why? כי תהיו אתם, because you're going to be, ארץ חפץ אמר השם צבאות. You're going to be praised. ולשם שבחן, כמו דתימה, like in Tehillim it says, אשרי העם שככה לו, happy is the nation that whom it is true, אשרי העם שהשם אלוקיו, happy is the nation that God is their God. So it says, אין אישורן, again, the word Asher appears here all the time, אין אישורן של ישראל, so he says, why is the Jewish people special? So now it gives the reason why the Jewish people are special. אין אישורן של ישראל, אלא על שבחרו בקדוש ברוך הוא. Strange. It says, you know why the Jewish people are special? It's because they chose God. להיות להם לאלוקים, to be for them a God. והקדוש ברוך הוא בחר בהם להיות עולם סגולה. And because they chose God as their leader, as their God, God chose them as his nation. So he says, in other words, the reason why we are different than all the other nations is because we chose God, and that's why God chose back us. And the question is, what do you mean we chose God? That doesn't make sense. What about all the other nations? Don't the Muslims choose God? Don't the Christians, some of them anyway, choose God? He says, what's going on over here? That we're going to concentrate on today. So therefore it continues, ולפיכך כשבא נשיא אשר להקריב, therefore when Asher came to bring a sacrifice, הקריב קורבנו על שם הבחירה. So it says the name Asher, that's what the name Asher means. We chose God and God chose us. That's what the word Asher means. על שם הבחירה שבחר הקדוש ברוך הוא בישראל. The fact that God chose the Jewish nation, מכל האומות, from all the nations, כמו דתימה, like it says in the book of Devarim, it says, ובך בחר השם להיות לו לעם סגולה. In you God chose for him to be a chosen people. The chosen people comes from Asher, from the word Asher. That's why Asher symbolizes. Asher symbolizes the choice between God, us choosing God, and God choosing us. Okay? Now this is going to be problematic like it is every week that we say it. So let's see. צריך להבין. We need to understand on page number 5. דבחירה שייך דווקא בשני דברים ששניהם שווים. It says, when do you have free choice? You have only free choice when you've got two equal things. If I'm going to give you a Lamborghini that is worth $5 million and I'm giving you a Toyota that's worth $20,000 and I say, I chose the Lamborghini, that wasn't choice. Obviously you chose the Lamborghini. Yeah? When I give you two Lamborghinis, same color, same mileage, exactly the same, red, same year, same thing, and then you choose, no, that's free choice. They're two equal things. Then you have free choice. But otherwise, there's no free choice. או שבכל אחד מהם יש מעלה שאין בזולתו, or at least you can say, maybe I'm going to give you a Lamborghini and a Rolls Royce, both worth $5 million, and then you can have choice, even though they're worth $5 million. They're not exactly the same, but each one has an advantage over the other one. You want luxury? You take the Rolls Royce. You want to take people's eyes out? You take the Lamborghini. It depends what you want. But it says, אבל בנוגע לקדוש ברוך הוא ולהבדיל אלוקי הנכר, האח שייך לומר שישראל בחרו בקדוש ברוך הוא. But here comes the question. What do you mean we chose God over the idols? What do you mean? It's not even a choice. Obviously, everybody who's going to give a choice between God and idols is an idiot if he doesn't choose God. God is the Lamborghini. The idols are idiotic. What kind of choice is this? It doesn't make sense. Of course we're going to choose God. Of course everybody's going to choose God. It says, what does it even mean? We chose God. So in order to understand this, we need to go and let's look at Lamentations. And it says over here like this. חלקי השם אמרה נפשי, על כן אוכי לו. It says, my soul said, God is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. This is what a Jew feels. God is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. What does that mean? And here comes the analogy. It's a very deep analogy. Most people don't understand the analogy the way it's supposed to be understood, so we'll have to pay attention. So it says, Rabbi Abahu Beshem Rabbi Yochanan Omar. It says, Rabbi Abahu explains in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, and this is what he says. Mashal lemelech shenichnas limdina. It says, take the analogy. A king comes into a country, comes into a city, right? והיו עמו דוכסין ויפרחלין ויסתרטולין. He has dukes with him, he has commanders, he has other leaders. והיו גדולי מדינה יושבים באמצע מדינה. And then the leaders of the city are sitting in the middle of the city. So they all want to sit next to someone. The king comes with all his, with all his advisors. So one says, חד אמר, אנא נסיב דוכסין לגבי. He says, I will choose to sit, you know who? Next to the duke. That's what one of the leaders of the country said. וחד אמר, אנא נסיב יפרחין לגבי. It says that I will want to sit next to the leader, not the king, another of the leaders. ואחד אמר, אנא נסיב יסטרלוטין לגבי. The other one says, I want to sit next to the commander. Yeah? היה פיקח אחד לשם, but there was one smart guy in the country, And what did he say? Amar ana nasiv lemalka. He says, I want to sit next to the king. Why? And then he gives the reason why. Dekula mitchalfin umalka eino mitchalef. Because all can be replaced except the king. The king can replace the next man. The next day, he can replace his commander. The next day, he can replace the duke. The next day, he can do whatever. But the king stays the same no matter what. So he says, I want to sit next to the king. So this is the analogy. So let's see what's going on over here. Page 5, all the way in the bottom. So it says, Ken of de kochavim. So this was, at that time, the people who worship idols. Mehem ovdim lachama, some of them worship the sun. Umehem ovdim lelevana, some of them worship the moon. Umehem ovdim le'etz ve'even, some of them worship stones, trees. Aval Yisrael einam ovdim ela lakadosh baruch hu. But the Jewish people only serve whom? Only serve God. Hadahu dichtiv, and then it goes back to the verse that we just read over here. Chelki Hashem amra nafshi. It says, my portion, my soul says, שאני מייחד אותו שתי פעמים בכל יום, ואומר, שמע ישראל השם אלוהינו השם אחד. We don't want anybody else, we just want God. Okay, when we say the Shema twice a day. Okay, now comes the question. The Midrash is not understood. And the reason why the Midrash is not understood is because it's completely not understood. I don't understand the analogy that the Midrash wants to teach us. Let's look inside. On page number 6, second paragraph. וידוע דיוק בזה. And there's a famous questions when it comes to this Midrash. דלכאורה, הרי גם מי שאינו פיקוח, ואפילו תינוק קטן, any idiot, even a small child, a 5-year-old, if you tell him to choose between the king and the rest, all the advisor, who's the 5-year-old going to choose? The king. It's obvious. Why would you use you want the top guy. Who's the top guy? The king. And the Midrash says, no. Only the smart. There was only one smart guy there who chose the king. You don't need to be smart to choose the king. Every idiot would choose the king. That's our question. In other words, we don't understand what the Midrash is trying to convey to us. So even a baby knows שהמלך הוא גדול יותר מהדוכסין, that the king is higher than the dukes. ומה צריכים לפיקחות בכדי לבחור במלך? You don't need to be a genius to choose the king. The whole Midrash doesn't make sense. וגם הרי גם עם הדוכסים וכולו לא מתחלפים, even, and the reason why, when the person was asked in the Midrash, why do you choose the king? He says, not because I want the king. You remember what he said? Anybody remembers? He says, because the king doesn't change. Everybody else can change and the king doesn't change. And let's say nobody can change. Let's say you couldn't change the ministers. Still you would want the king. The fact that everybody can change is not the point. The point is that you're choosing the king. מובן בפשטות שהמלך הוא גדול מהם. Nevertheless, the king is always going to be higher than them. ולמה צריך להטעם דכולו מתחלפים? Why do you need the reason that the Midrash gives? No, everybody changes except him. That doesn't make sense. The whole Midrash doesn't make sense. So let's continue. Page number 7. והנה לכאורה היה אפשר לבאר זה על פי הידוע. So we can explain it according to what is already known. שבדורות הראשונים אלו שעבדו לכוכבים ומזלות, it says, what happened in the old times, in the generations? Why would people worship the sun? Why would people worship the sea? Well, they're not idiots. People were not idiots then. Yeah, they were smart people. You know Rome, you know the philosophy over there? At the same time, they had all the philosophies in Rome. Aristotle said they believed in Zeus and they believed in this and they're not idiots. These guys were smart people. Why would they believe in all such things? So let's understand. So it says, ידעו שהשפע שנשפע בארץ על ידי הכוכבים ומזלות, it says, they realized, that everything that comes, all the nature, all the powers of nature, they knew הוא שהקדוש ברוך הוא משפיע על ידם. They knew that it's not the sea, Saigon, You know, with they knew that he's not the God of the sea. They knew that he's not God. They knew that there's a power behind him. The God of the earth, they knew there's a power behind him. Yeah? They knew that there was a power of God. There was a power of nature behind all those symbolism of God. The things that gives them sustenance. אלה שטעו וחשבו שהשפע שנשפע ממנו יתברך על ידי כוכבים מזלות הוא בבחירתם. It says, what was the mistake? They made a simple mistake. They thought, they knew that God existed. They used to call him God of the gods. That was his name, God of the gods. What they thought was that God is too busy to deal with the people on earth. So he gave the duke, and he gave this guy, and he gave that guy the power to run the world. He says, look, I'm over there, I'm doing important things. You guys, you run the world. In other words, they thought that God is not involved anymore in the day-to-day running of the world. Maybe you need him once in a while for the big things, but the day-to-day running of the world, you don't need him. It's enough this, it's enough the Zeus and the other guys, they're enough to run the world. ולא ידעו את האמת. What they didn't understand is that all those physical natures, all these powers that were in the world, אין להם בחירה כלולה. Do not have any choice. In other words, they don't decide who gets what. They do exactly what? What God tells them to do. They thought that it's their choice. They decide who gets the money, who doesn't get the money. That's what they thought. No, they're actually a tool. God decides through them. והם רק כגרזן ביד החוצב. They're just like an axe in the hand of the wood chopper. The axe doesn't have a free choice. Whatever the wood chopper wants to cut, that gets cut. ולכן השתחוו לכוכבים הזולות ועבדו אותם. It says, this is why they bow down to the stars, to these false gods, because they thought they're running the show. כי לפי טעותם, because according to their mistake, ראוי להודות להם לזה. It says, if somebody gives you something and it's his free choice, thank him for it. You know, if a waiter comes and gives you food, say thank you. Give him a tip even. הדרך חמרה למרא טיבות דשריה. היין של המלך הוא, והשותים אותו מחזיקים טובה לשר המשקה ולא למלך. It says, the analogy is like the king throws a feast. And he tells to his minister that is responsible over the wine, feed the people, give them to drink. So when the minister gives you the drink, you tell him thank you. Because why? Because you think that it's up to him to give you the drink. And it's a nice thing to do to thank you, the guy who gave him. וגם כי לפי טעותם שהכוכבים והזלות הם לבחירה. And they thought that it was the minister who decides who gets and who doesn't get the wine. It wasn't the king. חשבו שעל ידי שיעבדו אותם ישפיעו להם יותר. So they said, since God left the earth and God is not running the show, you know who's running the show over here now? The ministers. So if I'll be nice to the minister, I'll say thank you to the minister will be nice to me, I'll grease him, I'll give him whatever he needs, then he's going to give me something. I'll give him sacrifices, I'll give him presents, he'll give me back presents. That's what they were thinking. Okay? ומזה נשתלשל אחר כך. And this was in the beginning, where they realized that everything comes from God. But after years passed down in the world, אחר כך שבאו לטעות גדולה יותר. Then they thought שחשבו שעזב השם את הארץ בידי כוכבים מזלות. They came to the conclusion that God is not interested anymore in what's happening here in the world. He gave all the powers to the gods, to the forces of nature. והנהגת הארץ תלויה רק בהם. And the running of the show is only dependent on them. ובדוגמה, they thought it is like what? מלך שמינה שרים להנהיג את המדינה. It's like a king who put a duke and he told the duke, run this country. דהגם שזה שבכוחם להנהיג את המדינה הוא מפני שהמלך מינה אותם. They realized that it's the reason that they're the duke is because God, the real power, the real king, he nominated them. מכל מקום לאחר שנתמנו, but now who's in charge? The duke is in charge. He's giving you. You need to be nice to him in order to get your sustenance. הנהגת המדינה היא על ידי השרים ואין המלך מתערב בזה. מלבד לפרקים רחוקים יש צורך גדול. Okay. The Rambam is going to explain this, is going to bring a whole explanation of this on page 8. We're not going to learn through the Rambam. I just mentioned pretty much everything that the Rambam is going to say because we don't have the time. So we're going to continue on page 9. If you want later on, you can read the Rambam. It's very interesting. We also did it a couple of times in other classes. That's why it's not necessary to do it again. So page number 9, the Rebbe continues. So now we can understand why do we say that there was only one guy who was smart who wanted the king, and that was the Jewish nation. Now we're going to understand the analogy much better after we got this introduction. How? ועל פי זה היה אפשר לבאר, now we can understand, פיקחותו של זה. Why are we saying there was one wise guy who wanted the king? שאמר, אנא נסיב מלכה, it says, I want the king. דזה שישראל יודעים את האמת, it says, it was the Jewish people who knew the truth. And what is the truth? שכל הממוצעים, that all the powers of nature, שעל ידם באה השפעה, that through them comes the sustenance. Whatever it is, all the powers of nature, going to college, doing the right thing, not cheating everybody. Yeah? Doing the right thing, not cheating anybody. The people in the world, it's called karma. Right? They use karma. It says, I'll be good to the world will be good to me. Right? That's what people say. Jews know that karma is serving whom? No. If you believe in karma, who you're serving?
Idol worship.
This is idol worship. Karma is idol worship. You believe that if you behave a certain manner, that manner is going to give you back. In other words, that's not believing God. A Jew sees that behind karma there's what? There's actually a God. That's what the Jew sees. In other words, God did not leave the world in the hands of karma. And therefore, when I act nicely will act upon me. That's a way of a non-Jew to see the world. A Jew knows that it's true if I act a nice way. But because why? Because acting nicely is what the God in the karma they see. Not the karma itself as a tool to get sustenance for me. And I'll explain what it means. הם רק כגרזן ביד החוצב. They see karma, a Jew sees karma, so-called, like an axe in the hands of the woodchopper. In other words, the karma is not a God. It's not like something that I will do or will get back. Yeah? There's a God behind it. God tells karma who to give and who doesn't not to give. הוא מצד גודל הדעת שלהם. And the reason why a Jew can see it is because he's smart. He can see what's behind it. שהם רואים את הפנימיות. We saw the inner part. שהרי בחונציניות נראה, זה שההשפעה היא על ידי הכוכבים הזאת, because if you look at the world, you know, if you look out in the world, who makes the money? Smart people make money. Non-smart people, you have to do certain things in this world in order to be successful. If you do certain things in the world, 1, 2, 3, or 4, you'll be successful. If you don't do certain people in the world, you won't be successful. In other words, you want to be successful, you have to do, there's financial guys, right? Go according to the financial plan, and then you'll be successful. You don't go according to the financial plan, and you know what's going to happen? You won't be successful. Where's God in the picture? Nowhere. You're worshipping the financial plan. That's what you're doing. ומפני שיש מהם מעלה שמצד זה הם ראויים להיות ממוצעים. וזה שישראל יודעים שהם רק גרזן ביד החוצב ומצד גודל הדעה שלהם. A Jew knows that it might be true that the financial plan one has to follow. But why one has to follow the financial plan? Not because the financial plan is the thing that's going to give you sustenance. Because if God told you that to do the financial plan, then it will be your sustenance. Let's go to page number 10. והעניין הוא, דעיקר הטעם על זה שעבדו לכוכבים ומזלות הוא. It says the reason why the other nations served the stars, כי בכדי לקבל השפעה מהקדושה צריך להיות בביטול. It says, how come we didn't choose to worship the idols, and they did? So in truth is, it's much easier for everybody in the world to worship the idols. Also for us. It's easy. You see, if I do this and this and this and this, I get that and that. And everybody knows that. If I cheat a little bit in the business, I get much more money. Everybody knows that. Yeah, I'll make an angle over here, an angle over there, and everything, more money is going to come in. Everybody knows you have to pay the piper to do the right thing. A Jew, on the other hand, in order to serve God, you know what he needs to do? He needs to be completely nullified to God. What does it mean to be nullified to God? I don't do what brings me money. I don't do what brings me money. So what do I do? How do I act? Exactly what God says. See, for that you need nullification. For that you need to say, I don't care if I'm going to have a son. I don't care if I'm going to have a family. I don't care if I'm going to have money. I don't care if I want to have sustenance. I care what God told me to do. That's what I do. To do that, the other nations weren't willing. He says, what do you mean? I want a good life. I want to have a nice family. I want to have a nice wife. I want to have a big house. I want to have a nice car. I want to have people to respect me. And in order to do that, I have to worship those things that will give me this. When it comes to God, God says, nobody cares what you want. You know what you do? If I tell you what to do, even if I tell you what to do, you're not going to have a son, you're not going to have a family, you're not going to say, you'll do it, you know why? Because I told you what to do. That's the attitude of a Jew. I do things not in order to get some things. I do things because God said so. That's what I do it. And that the other people weren't willing to do. The other nations were not willing to do. To serve God and only get hurt because of it? I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to serve God as long as it's coming back to me. It's an investment. But just to serve God because to serve God, that I'm not willing to. ולהיות שלא רצו לבטל את עצמם, they didn't want to nullify themselves to God to such a degree, לכן עבדו לקוחים הזו, it's not worth it. I'm going to invest in things that I'm going to see return. I want money, I know how to invest to see money back. There's things I can invest in order to see money. There's things I can invest in order to have a family. There are things I'm going to invest in order to gain honor in the community. Those things I'm going to do, not what God said. שבכדי לקבל ההשפעה מהם אין צריך לביטול. In all the things that I just mentioned, in order to receive money, in order to receive honor, you don't need to nullify yourself. On the contrary, you can be the biggest macher in the world. You can go around like, you're the biggest guy in the world, not nullify yourself to anything. You're the best in the world. You didn't nullify yourself to God at all or to anybody else in the world at all. And you're gaining the things. וכתאית בזוהר, just like the Zohar explains, רוח הטמאה מזדמנת תמיד בחינם ובריקנות. It says, the spirit of impureness is always available, and it comes for free. It comes not through hard work. In order for one to nullify himself to God, he needs to give up everything. In other words, he needs to give up his son, his daughter, his family, his whole thing. Because you don't know what God will demand of you. If God demands to do that, then you will do it. It happens to be that God doesn't demand it. But the nullification, they didn't know that before Matan Torah. They said, whatever God will demand of us, we will do. In other words, they were willing to give away everything in order to do God's will. And this is what they complained to Moshe. It says, כמו שכתוב שנאכל במצרים חינם. It says, you remember Moshe in Egypt? We used to eat for free. What does it mean for free? They were slaves in Egypt. They didn't eat anything for free in Egypt. So what did it mean for free? Because the השפעה מלעומת זה מצרים מחינם. It is because it was without nullification. They didn't need to nullify themselves. They knew, we do this, we get that. We do this, we get that. Now we need to nullify ourselves to God. We need to say to God, God, whatever you want. It's not what we want. We're not serving ourselves, we're serving you. And that there's no guarantee that you're going to tell me things that I will like. Maybe you're going to tell me things I don't like to do. ועוד טעם על זה שלרצו לקבל השפעתם הכוכבים ומזלות. And there's another reason. We are on page 10 in the middle. כי גם ההשפעה עצמה הנמשכת על כוכבים ומזלות היא גדולה יותר. It is also the reason, you know why you want to go to the Duke and get the money from the Duke and not from God? And not from the king? For a simple reason. The king is going to give you how much? What you deserve. That's what he's going to give you. The Duke is going to give you how much? How much is the Duke going to give you? As much bribe as you gave him. That's what you're going to do. It's much better to get your sustenance from the Duke and not from the king. The king is not going to give you things you don't deserve. He's only going to give you things that you deserve. But if you go to the Duke, you give him some cash on the side, he's going to give you give him your daughter, he's going to give you some more things. He's going to give you your land that he wants, he's going to give you more things. God, it doesn't work. You can't bribe God. He's going to give you what you deserve. So that's another reason why not to go to God. If you go to God, you might not get what you want. If you go to the Duke, that's for sure you're going to get what you want. It depends how much you're going to invest in him. He's going to give you back what you invested in him. It's always worth to go to the Duke. Smart thing. So now we understand the analogy. Not completely yet, but we're going to continue. ומזה מובן גודל השבח והפיקחות לישראל שאינם עובדים אלא לקדוש ברוך הוא. Now you understand why the Jews are praised that they only serve God. Number one, serving God means there's no guarantee I'm going to get food. There's no guarantee I'm going to get money. There's no guarantee I'm going to get honor. There's no guarantee of anything. I have to do whatever he tells me. I might not get any of the things because I chose to serve him. And furthermore, if I don't choose God, I choose his servants, so-called, then there's a guarantee I'm going to get, and there's a guarantee I'm going to get a lot. When I serve God, even if I do serve him, you know how much I'm going to get? As much as I deserve, and we all know how much we deserve. You know, it's always worth to go to whom? To the dukes. It's always good to go to the... So now, we need to understand. But it says, only the Jewish people were smart enough in order to know what? That it's the smart thing to go to the king. But we just explained that it's not the smart thing to go to the king. It's the smart thing to go to the duke. So what's going on over here? Let's continue. דהגם שבכדי לקבל מהקדושה צריכי לעבודה ויגיעה, it's true that in order to get from the holiness, you need hard work, you need to completely nullify yourself, you need to not know what your future is going to be. וגם אז ההשפעה היא במידה והגבלה, and even then, God is only going to give you what you deserve, not more. מכל מקום, הם מוותרים על ריבוי השפע בגשמיות. Nevertheless, a Jew says, I'm not interested in all the physical sustenance that I can receive from the duke. וחביב להם יותר ההשפעה המצומצמת של... and they want more, the little bit that they get from God, than the more that they will get from the duke. That's why it's called smart. It's smart, but you're losing. So what's going on over here? Let's continue. Page 11. זה שבישראל ישנה הכרה שצריך לוותר על התועלת והמציאות שלהם. A Jew has the recognition that he needs to give up on his own self ולבחור באלוקות, and to choose godliness, even if it's going to be bad for me, even if I can get more sustenance and honor and everything in the other side. It is because we got a godly soul. שבחירתה באלוקות היא בחירה עצמית שלמעלה מהשכל, and he chose godliness because that's what it is. וזה פועל על שכלם, and because a Jew is a part of God in him, he is willing to give away all the sustenance in the world just to be one with God. שגם השכל מכיר דמכיוון שהאלוקות הוא האמת שחי וקיים בקיום נצחי. In other words, they recognize, you know the sustenance that I'm getting from the duke and the things? That's a false God. It's true I'm getting it, but I'm not connected to whom? I'm not connected to God. If I get my sustenance from the duke or from the mayor or from the governor, it's true, I might get more sustenance. But you know, this sustenance is not a godly sustenance. What kind of sustenance it is? It might be more, but it's not godly. I want what kind of sustenance? I want my sustenance, my food to come from God, and not to come from somebody else besides God. He recognizes, our neshama recognizes, צריך הוא לוותר על המציאות שלו, that my physicality is not important, and I want to attach myself to God.
So he's saying that the Jews want to feed their souls more than their bodies. Is it kind of what you're saying?
Even more, 100% correct, but even in a spiritual manner, they want to feed God more than the souls. You can even go that. They don't even want to feed their souls. They want to be attached to God, because they want to be attached to God more than they care about the soul. In other words, if you're thinking, you know what, it's worth it to suffer in this world because I'm going to receive heaven up there, you're still worshipping an idol. This is still an idol worship. It's called the worship an idol of heaven. That's not that's a kind of a worshipping an idol. It's not a true worshipping an idol, but that's what it means. Even if you do it for the soul, it's still wrong. It's still not what a Jew has to do. A Jew doesn't care about Gan Eden. He doesn't care about heaven. He doesn't care about... He wants to be attached to God. He wants to get his sustenance from God. I'd rather get my bread from my father than I get it from the neighbor. Even if the neighbor gives it to me 1 billion times more and my father is going to give me much less. It's a sweeter bread than when my father gave it to me than when he gave it to me. That's the idea.
Wow.
And this is what we're going to learn on source number 6 on page 12. It says, תפילה לעני, כי יעטוף ולפני השם ישפוך שיחו. A poor man's prayer. This is from Tehillim, from the Psalms. What's a poor man's prayer? He pours out his words before God. And this is the point of the whole thing. What do you mean he pours out his words before God? Who else can he pour out the words before? So it says there's many other people he can pour out his words for. He can pour out his words in front of the duke, in front of this guy, in front of the government, in front of that. He doesn't. He chooses to pour out his words before whom? Before God. And if he pours out the words before God, first of all, there's no guarantee he's going to get. And even if he is going to get, he's going to get what? As much as he deserves. So it says, let's understand it. Page 12. שמעתי ממורי פירוש הפסוק. This is, the Baal Shem Tov says this. תפילה לעני כי יעטוף ולפני השם יספח שיחו. A poor man's prayer in wrapped, he pours out his word before God. על פי משל שהכריז המלך ביום שמחתו. This is an analogy. The king had a wedding day, let's call it. כל מי שיבקש דבר מן המלך ימלאו לו מבוקשו. It says whatever, the king is in a happy mood right now, and the king says, whatever you're going to ask me, I'm going to give you. Guys, ask. Whatever you're going to ask, I'm going to give. Right? What would you ask from the king?
To give me the strength to help my family or something.
Okay, family, what would you ask? Same thing. Let's see. ויש מי שביקש שררה וכבוד. There are those who wanted to have the power, to give him the strength for whatever, for honor, to help the community, whatever it is. ויש שביקש עושר. Somebody says, I want strength to be wealthy so I can help the community. ונתנו לכל אחד מבוקשו. And everybody got according to what he asked. והיה שם חכם אחד, but there was one smart guy. He didn't ask to be rich. He didn't ask for power. He didn't ask for strength. Because all these things are what? He's asking for what? He's asking for whom? He's asking for himself. Think about it. He's not asking for God. You know what he asked for? שאמר ששאלתו ומבקשתו שידבר המלך בעצמו עמו ג' פעמים ביום. It says, I don't want anything. In other words, he's not thinking about himself at all. It says, all I want is I want to be able to attach myself to the king 3 times a day. It says, I want to be able to talk to the king 3 times a day. I want me and the king to sit together 3 times a day. That's all I want. I don't want to guarantee that the king will give me nothing. I don't want riches, I don't want a son, I don't want a daughter, I don't want money, I don't want power, I don't want nothing. All I want is the opportunity to be one with the king 3 times a day.
So if I hear you right, what Jew wants is to have a relationship and to have acceptance and love from Hashem.
He wants to be one with God.
Is that what we want?
Yeah, he wants to be one with God.
That's what we want.
That's what we should want. Yeah, he wants to be one with God.
That's the purpose of everything we
Oh,
do.
but
Is that the purpose of
yes, that should be the purpose of everything we do. Yeah? And now think what happens here. He truly doesn't want riches. He truly doesn't want all the things. But you know what happens 3 times a day when we daven to God, we be with him? We're his friend. We tell him, God, this is happening this morning. My wife is not feeling well. My daughter needs a shidduch. My cousin needs this. We have an opportunity 3 times a day to sit with God and talk to him face to face. It's not that we want the help from God. We just want a friendship with him. And as a friend, automatically, you know what's going to happen? If you connect to God 3 times a day, all the things are going to come automatically. But if you wanted them, then you don't want the king. See, this guy really wants the king. He doesn't want the things. It happens to be that if he wants the king, those things will come automatically with the king. But that's not why he wants the king. He wouldn't care if they don't come. He just wants the connection to the king.
It sounds almost like what a son wants from his father.
Exactly.
All sons want from their father.
Exactly.
They don't want their money, they don't want their gifts, they don't want
Exactly.
they want their heart.
Very good. They want the connection. והוטב מאוד בעיני המלך, and this was what was special in the king's eyes. מאחר שדיבורו חביב עליו מן העושר. The king realized, my son wants to be with me more than money. ולכן ימולא בקשתו שיתנו לו רשות להיכנס בהיכלו לדבר עמו. And therefore he gave him permission to come with me and talk to me 3 times a day. ושם יפתחו לו הוצאות. And then by the way, if you come and you connect to your father 3 times a day and your father sees automatically that you're missing something, obviously he's going to give it to you. You have a connection with him. But that's not why you want the connection. You don't want the connection because of that. You just want to be one with the king. שיקח מנשמה וכבוד גם כן. And then the father gives him whatever he needs from the treasury house. And this is what it means. This is the davening of a poor person. וזה שכתוב תפילה לעני, לפני השם ישפוך שיחו, שזה מבוקשו. It says that a poor person doesn't see the castle, doesn't see he is missing something and he wants a connection. He's a poor. He doesn't have a connection to God, and all he is looking for is that one connection with God. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for richness. He's not looking for powers. He's not looking for nothing. He says, God, I just want to be one with you. ובתורת הבעל שם טוב, page 13, the בעל שם טוב explains, הידוע לפסוק, he says, תפילה לעני כי יעטוף ולפני השם ישפוך שיחו. This is a davening of a poor person. שאינו מבקש שום דבר. A poor person, when he davens, you know what he davens for? He doesn't daven for money. He doesn't daven for anything. ותפילתו היא שלפני השם ישפוך שיחו. You know what he's davening in it for? One thing. He says, God, I only want one thing. You know what I want? What does he want?
To be heard.
I want to connect to you. That's right. I want you to listen. I want to be your son. That's all I want. I want nothing else. He says, this is why the Jews are smart. This is the smartness of the Jews. The Jew inherently, every Jew wants it. Sometimes we need to bring it out of him to show him that's what he wants. But inherently, every Jew couldn't care less about all the rest of the world. He wants a connection with godliness. And it says, ולזה צריך פיקחות גדולה. For that you need to be smart. ובדוגמת מלך בשר ודם, just like by a king, שבכדי להיכנס לקיטון שבו נמצא המלך ולראות את פני המלך, in order to go into the private house of the king, צריך לעבור תחילה דרך כמה וכמה היכלות. He needs to go through many rooms, שבכל אחד מהם יש הון יקר. And this is what happens. When imagine you're going and you know that the king is, far away in room after room after room, in the inner room. There's 10 rooms to go by. And in every room, a guy stops you over there and he asks you, excuse me, what do you need? And you know what happens? You see health over there. And immediately you see health in that room. You say, I know, my sister doesn't feel well. My uncle is old, he doesn't feel well. So you know what you do? You forget the king, you say, I want health. And he gives you health and he sends you away. Maybe you don't need health, you go to the next one, he says, what do you need? And you don't have money to pay the mortgage this month. So you tell the guy, I need some money to pay the mortgage this month. You forget that you wanted the connection with the king. He says, this is what happens to a Jew. He goes from one room to another room and to another room, and they offer him all the things. They offer him health, they also offer him family, they offer him riches, they offer him honor. And if he is not smart, you know what's going to do? He's going to stop and he's going to take it and go. Did he see the king? No. But if he's smart, you know what happens? He doesn't see riches, he doesn't see nothing. He says, you know what I want? I want the king. I just want a connection to the king. I don't care about nothing. I don't care about health. I don't care about my family. I don't care about nothing. You know what I care about? The king. I want to be one with the king. וישנם כאלה כשרואים את ההון היקר שבחלל החיצון, there are those who see all the riches that is before the king, הם מתענגים מזה בתענוג נפלא ומתעכבים שם. They get stuck over there. Yes, it's true that God gives riches. Yes, it's true that everything comes from God. But they miss the point. Now they don't have a connection to God. They have the connection to God's riches. They have a connection to God's wisdoms. They have a connection to everything, but they don't have a connection to God. ויש כאלה שמתענגים בהיכל פנימי יותר. There's those who get their enjoyment in an inner one. They're thinking about Gan Eden. They're thinking about their souls. You know, I'm going to collect commandments over here so I can go to heaven one day. That's also one of the things. Again, are they thinking about God? No. They're thinking about heaven for whom? There's no difference. Money or heaven, what's the difference? It's the same thing. ודווקא מישהו חכם גדול, but only someone who's smart, הוא לא מתפעל מזה. He couldn't care less about the rest. החשיבות והיוקר של ההון עצום נמצא גם בכלל הכי פנימי. They don't care about the most inner treasures of the king, they couldn't care less about. כל רצונו ותשוקתו היא להיכנס לקיטון בו נמצא המלך עוד מהמלך. All they want is to be one with the king. I don't care about this physical world, nor do I care about the spiritual world. I don't want anything. You know what I want? I want you. I want you, God. There's a verse in the Psalms that says, Mili bashamayim. It says, who is to me in heavens? It says, who cares about the heavens? Ve'imcha lo chafatzti ba'aretz. Who do I have in heavens beside you? And on earth I desire no one but you. I couldn't care about physicality. I couldn't care even about spirituality. About my soul, I don't care. All I care is about whom? You. My connection to you.
Sounds like you're describing a righteous person once again.
That's what, by the way, this righteous person is in each and every one of us. All we need is to reveal him. Rashi explains, we're going to explain that your question soon. Mili bashamayim, it says, who do I have in the heavens? Shum malach shebacharti le'eloka lo bacharti ela'otcha. It says, I don't want any of your treasures, any of your spiritual Gan Eden. I only want you. Page 14. ויש לומר שעניין זה הוא האהבה דמילי בשלום לא חפצתי. And this is, by the way, this is one of the things that the Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, many times people would find him rolling on the floor and he would say something and they would listen to what he said. He was in such connection to godliness at those times, that he completely lost like ability to on his body. Yeah, a kind. And he used to say these words, Eini rotze me'uma. I don't want anything. Eini rotze began eden shelcha. God, I don't want your heaven. I don't want it. Don't give me your heaven. I'm not interested in your heaven. Eini rotze ba'olam haba shelcha. I don't want in your world to come. I don't want that. I want nothing. Eini rotze ela becha levadcha. I only want you alone. I want a connection between you. I don't want anything. Not spirituality, not physicality. I just want a connection to God. That's what I want. Nothing else.
True love.
Yeah? He wants to be one with God.
Extreme love, right?
Extreme connection, not love. Extreme connection. It's higher than love.
That's the only word I can think of.
Yeah, it's higher than love. Use the word connection. דהגם שהגילויים שבגן עדן ומכל שכל הגילויים בעולם הבא, even though the revelations in heaven הם גילויים נעלים ביותר, are very high revelation, והאדמו"ר הזקן נתן us God, not like us, he understood what he could get in heaven. We don't even know what's heaven. He actually saw it. אף על פי כן אינו רוצה לא בגילויים לגן עדן ולא בגילויים בעולם הבא. Nevertheless, he didn't want these revelations. All he wanted, כל רצונו הוא רק בעצמות, דיך אלין. Like he used to say, all I want is you alone. I don't not listen in anything. Now we're going to continue. יש לומר על ידי זה שאמר אדמו"ר הזקן, and through the words that the Alter Rebbe says, איני רוצה לבך לבד, he says, when Alter Rebbe revealed that this is what every Jew should want, only him alone, ובפרט לאחרי שנתפרסם זה על ידי הצוות, and specifically, after it was revealed through his grandson, ניתן הכוח, it was giving the power לכל אחד ואחד מישראל, to each and every Jew, ובפרט להולכים, and especially those who learn Chassidus, like we're learning Chassidus now, דאגם שיש לו ריבוי רצונות, even though that I do want sustenance, I do want to raise my family the right way, I want to have a nice car, I want to have a nice house, I want to have honor, I want to have all the things, I want to have Gan Eden, I want to have heaven, שכל הרצונות שלו יהיו בלא לב ולב, ועיקר רצונו, but the main thing, our main will should be, להשלים כוונת העצמות, לעשות לו יתברך דירה בתחתונים. That our main will be to be united with God, to do God's will. Every Jew has the power. וגם ברצונו בגשמיות יהיה, בכדי לעשות את הגשמיות כלי אלוקות. Our only will be to turn myself into a vessel of God. That's my will. And if that's the will, I have the power. ועל ידי זה יומשך לו גם ריבוי אשמה בגשמיות. And by the way, if a person is really there, God obviously is going to help him in all that he needs. If a person is connected in such a manner to God, what are you afraid? That God is not going to give you what you need? Obviously he's going to give you what you need. You have a connection as a father and son. He sees, you won't even need to ask. You will never need to ask. The father will feel every day when you connect to him in such a manner, he would feel, my son is missing this. Obviously, he's going to give you whatever you're missing.
Don't we say in the Siddur, if we trust in God, that's the key to happiness or something like that? In the Siddur?
There is such a thing also, that's right.
I mean, if you trust...
Yeah, but that's bitachon. Over here, it's a higher level than that. Over here, we're talking about a connection.
So when we pray, we should pray to be connected and to do God's will. That's how prayer should be based on.
Thank you. Do you know what the word tefillah in Hebrew means?
Tefillah.
Tefillah. The word prayer in Hebrew is tefillah. The word tefel means to connect. Prayer in Hebrew means a connection, becoming one. You take two objects and you make them one. That's litfol. Litfol et acheres. To stick.
Our prayer should be based more on that more than what
A connection to God. That's what we are here. We are here to talk to God. We're not here to receive things. We're not here to ask for our needs.
we pray that what we do in the physical world is what He wants us to do.
Oh, and then automatically what happens? He says, God, I will be able to do your will better if I have this. I will be able to do your will better if I have that. But that's not what I'm asking it for. Because I want to connect. I want to do what you want. It happens to be that if all the day I'm worried, where is my money going to come from? I can't concentrate well. Yeah? And God will see it. God will give you money so you'll be able to concentrate well. That's what it is. הקדוש ברוך הוא נותן בני ישראל גשמיות, ובני ישראל עושים גשמיות וחילוניות. God gives us physicality, and we need to take the physical world and make it into spirituality. In other words, asking for sustenance, there's two ways to ask for sustenance. I can ask for money so that I can enjoy it, or I can ask for money so that I can do His will. God wants you to ask for money not because for you to enjoy. It is asking for money so that what? That I can continue to connect to you. That's the asking for money. Yeah? The reason why I'm asking for money is not because I want to eat a steak. It is because I want to bring something to you, God. I'm going to take that money and buy you another present with it. Make the physical world a better place for you. That's asking for money by a Jew who wants to connect to God means. דמזה מובן שהקדוש ברוך הוא נותן לישראל ריבוי גשמיות. From this we understand, when God gives us a lot of physicality, it's not for you to eat steaks for, it's not for us to buy a Lamborghini with, it's in order to take this money, to take this sustenance and be able to connect even better to God. ועד שמתקשרים ומתאחדים בקדוש ברוך הוא, until we can become one united with God. וכל זה נעשה מתוך שמחה וטוב לבב. We can do this all through gladness of heart. בימי ההכנה לזמיחותנו, this is going to come up soon. The first of Nisan is going to be this Thursday, I think. That's what we're going to say. And 11 days later is the birthday of the Rebbe, where this teaching was taught. And through this, we're going to come to the ultimate connection to God when Mashiach is going to be here.